Cloudcast Media. Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. A special day, and we bring back a guest who had been on earlier talking about all the cool things going on at the Jacobs Institute of Innovation and Education at USD, and that is Ann Avilez. She is a social innovation specialist. How you doing, Ann?
I'm doing good. Happy to be back.
Well, it's great to be back. I'm actually going to have you introduce the person you brought with you. It's your dad.
Yes.
And we're going to talk about, how encouraging he was for you to continue your education and everything that you're doing. And why don't you introduce your dad?
Absolutely. Tati, te presento. ¿Puedes decir tu nombre?
My name is Eulogio Avilez.
Mm-hmm. This is my dad, and as we talked in the previous episode, he has been such a huge encouragement to me throughout my academic journey, and he's here today to talk about his perspective.
We are so honored to have him, and joining me as always is Kristen Fogel. She is the co-host of our Spotlight on the Community Show and the executive director of San Diego Writers Inc. They're celebrating their 20th anniversary at Liberty Station. And Kristen, how you doing?
I'm doing well. We also have a co-host as well. Would you like to introduce yourself, Charles?
I would love to. And actually, it's an interesting title, a co-host.
Yeah.
My name is Charles Parisi. I'm with Cloudcast Media, and so excited, Drew and Kristen, to sit in on what I think is going to be an incredibly special episode.
Well, it is. And, I think what's so important about this and what your father has done and the encouragement from what has transpired. Are you the first child to go to a college setting in your family?
Yes, here in the U.S., yes.
Okay, very, very good. And so I'm going to let you, in your own words, talk about how important that was.
Yeah, definitely. So for me, it was definitely a big journey since, my dad didn't grow up in the U.S., so we both came when I was 5, and I didn't really have many resources to turn to. It was more of me trying to figure out my way around getting into college, getting into higher education, finding out scholarships, finding out aid, all of those things, figuring those things out on my own. As I discussed in the previous episode I was on, I kind of saw two different perspectives of two different communities. So when I first arrived in the U.S., I was surrounded by a more Hispanic community. So it was people that looked like me, but didn't necessarily have the resources to higher education either. And then when I moved, I got to see what was out there, a completely different perspective with completely different resources. And I think that's what helped me a lot in figuring out how to navigate my whole academic journey. But now, looking back, that is why I do what I do currently with the Jacobs Institute and further on with law, because I want to spread accessibility to those resources because I know how hard it is firsthand to find them.
So if you could ask your dad, and it's great that Ann's going to be our translator here, and then Kristen, you and Charles jump in when you want. Ask your dad, how much you inspired him when you made a decision you want to go to college.
Yeah. La primera pregunta es, ¿cómo te inspiré a ti o en qué maneras te he inspirado a ti personalmente cuando decidí ir a la universidad aquí en Estados Unidos?
Bueno, Annie, después...
Contesta en español.
Annie, después de estudiar high school, ella investigó los recursos para poder asistir a una universidad aquí en Estados Unidos. Yo no intervine en la selección y menos en sus aplicaciones para ingresar a una universidad. Lo que ella me motivó y me inspiró es que ella, por sus propios medios, Ahora con la tecnología de la Internet, investigó cuáles eran los requisitos para poder ingresar a una universidad y yo lo único que hice fue apoyarla y decirles, sí, hija, tú ya tienes todo preparado, tus aplicaciones, tus recursos con los que actualmente cuentas, puesto que estás por concluir la preparatoria, que es en el caso mío de el equivalente en México de high school. Entonces ella, por sus propios medios, claro, contando con un dispositivo adecuado de la tecnología para poder realizar esa investigación.
Mm-hmm. So whenever Annie was going through her applications, the best thing that I could do was just sit back and just support her and tell her, like, I'm not going to intervene in whichever schools you choose. I fully support. I can't really help out that much with filling out the applications, but I'm here supporting you. And what really inspired me was her ability to just research and use the resources that she felt she had around her to really make it work and put her efforts forward. And for me personally, when it was going through high school is typically in Mexico the last portion that most people leave off on, or even earlier.
Right.
So for me, that was a big inspiration to see her go through the process and go on to higher education.
I think one, that is very heartwarming. If you don't get chills from that one, I'm not sure. You can just see the love that's oozing between you and your dad.
Absolutely.
So proud of you. Chatting with Ann Avilez, a social innovation specialist at Jacobs Institute of Innovation, joined by her dad, Eulogio Avilez. I hope I pronounced it close enough on that. Joined by my co-hosts, Kristen Fogel and Charles Parisi. I know, Charles, you were so happy to have this episode. Talk about your thoughts.
And Ann, maybe you could translate this for your dad,
Yeah.
because I think this episode is really powerful for a couple of reasons. One, coming to America and the power of education.
Absolutely.
And the passion and love of a father to find that for his daughter. Mm-hmm. Can you ask your dad why was it so important to come to America? Because you mentioned he had planned for it the day you were born.
Uh-huh. Entonces, en el episodio anterior que platicamos, les mencioné que tú me habías comentado que desde que cuando nací o antes que naciera, tú ya estabas planeando venirte a Estados Unidos porque tú sabías que la educación era algo muy esencial que yo obtuviera, y más aquí en Estados Unidos. ¿Puedes platicar un poco más de por qué sentiste que esa era la decisión correcta y por qué es tan importante la educación y que sea para mí en Estados Unidos?
Porque en mi país, en México, los recursos son muy limitados. Los recursos de educación no son equitativos para toda la gente y menos al alcance de la gente con menos recursos. Nosotros, especialmente yo, crecí en un ambiente limitado de recursos. Todo el tiempo aspiré a estudiar y tener una educación equivalente allá en México, en el país, pero no encontraba los recursos y menos las instituciones que me apoyaran. Entonces, por esa situación, dentro de mi cultura y dentro de la cultura existente en esa época, siempre a la mujer se le ha limitado el hecho de que estudie. ¿Por qué? Porque hay un dicho que pregona allá de que la mujer, ¿para qué va a estudiar si se va a casar, si se va a dedicar al hogar. No es esencial que la mujer tenga una carrera o que tenga una profesión para poder vivir honestamente, puesto que con una pareja es suficiente. Por esa razón, yo siempre tuve presente ese hecho y dije, en mi caso, no voy a permitir que mi hija tenga ese concepto de la educación y menos de la cultura. Y cuando supe que Annie iba a nacer, porque empezó a dar signos de vida desde las 7 semanas que le hicieron el ultrasonido, no tenía formado todo el cuerpo, solo la parte alta de los brazos hacia arriba. Pero por el efecto del ultrasonido, ella movió las manos teniendo nada más esta parte de arriba. Entonces, para mí, desde ese momento yo no sabía si iba a ser niña o niño. Y dije, primero Dios, que Dios me dé vida y salud y buscar los recursos económicos para poder le dar acceso a la educación y la cultura.
So in my country, in Mexico, there's not a lot of resources available. And I personally grew up in a very low income area in a village or in a community where there's virtually zero access to higher education. And while I was going through my journey, I tried to seek out the resources, but in Mexico, that's just very difficult, even more difficult than it is here. So I knew that when Annie was about to be born, she was only 7 weeks old when she moved her hands. And I knew that, and I didn't know if she was going to be a boy or a girl, but I knew that culturally in Mexico, there's the tendency or the societal conception that, or the societal idea that women, that people usually think women don't necessarily need to get a higher education, because that idea still prevails a lot in Mexico. Like, a woman doesn't need an education because, you know what, she's going to get married. And when she gets married, she'll be all set. And I didn't want her to grow up in that environment. I knew I wanted to give her so many better opportunities, and I knew she couldn't be limited.
Well, that's beautiful. When we come back from break, I know Kristen's got a question for you as well. We're going to continue the conversation with Ann Avilez and her dad on this great journey. Ann is a social innovation specialist at Jacobs Institute of Innovation and Education, is going to be somewhere down the road one of our well-known counselors, if I'm not mistaken.
Absolutely.
Go to law school. We'll talk about that as well. I'm Drew Schlosberg, and you're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, the nation's longest-running community podcast, now in our 18th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, doing great things for more than 6 decades for us folk living here in San Diego County. We will be right back.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream, and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, and you're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, the nation's longest-running community podcast, now in our 18th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, as we're broadcasting from the Mission Fed studios here in Scripps Ranch and Mission Fed for more than 60 years, just doing wonderful things for people living in San Diego County. Honored to have back on our Spotlight show Anna Avilez. She is the Social Innovation Specialist for the Jacobs Institute of Innovation and Education, joined by her father, Eulogio Avilez. He has been a poster child for what great parents do to support their kids going to college, and we're honored to have him in the studio with and joined by my co-host, Kristen Fogel. She is the executive director of San Diego Writers, Inc., celebrating their 20th anniversary this year in Liberty Station. And my colleague and business partner and all-around good friend, the CEO and founder of Cloudcast Media, Charles Parisi, also sitting in as co-host. Kristen, you got a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to turn it to Anne for just a hot second. And you probably answered this in the last podcast, but how much of, your upbringing and maybe your dad's experience directly or indirectly affected you and made you want to go into law?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say it's definitely a huge mixture of the two. In my personal statements and everything that I wrote for law school, I talk about that journey. And personally, me knowing my dad's academic journey too, growing up in a small town, fairly secluded from the rest of the bigger cities, you don't have a lot of resources. I was aware of a lot of his upbringing, having a lot of siblings. It's very difficult to get out of that area and go into higher education. So I already knew that. I knew everything he had to overcome already. And then when I started going through my own journey into higher education and applying and going into law, I thought about law as an opportunity to bring more awareness to education policy specifically, because when we finally got here to the U.S., I noticed a huge disparity in accessibility of resources depending on the area you lived in. And having the knowledge of what it's like in Mexico and then seeing a reflection of that still going on here, it was frustrating because you think to yourself, you come here hoping for better opportunities and you do get them, but there's still so many obstacles in the way that you have to jump through and push forward through. And it really shouldn't be as hard as it is. And I think a lot of it is attributed to accessibility of resources, especially for immigrant parents who don't speak Spanish. Maybe they're not available at home, they're working. So students often feel like they don't have the support they need. And a lot of it is attributed to education policy. So funding for schools, all of those things play a significant role in advocating for these neighborhoods that are underserved. That is what I seek to do with education policy and law.
Charles?
Yeah, Anna, a little follow-up here, because not only did your dad fight so hard for great education, you come to America, then he moved you out of your original school to get to a school that would raise expectations for you, as I remember.
Right.
And now you're applying, and I want the audience to know you're applying to some of the greatest law schools in America. And tell me what you're feeling right now with your dad sitting next to you. Maybe talk to your dad about your journey and what all of this has meant to you.
Yeah. ¿Cómo te sientes ahora aprendiendo de mi trayectoria en aplicar a la escuela de ley? O sea, ¿cómo te sientes, observándome manejar todo esta trayectoria?
Yo estoy muy orgulloso de Annie por todos sus logros que hasta el día de hoy ha obtenido, porque se los ha ganado. Claro, yo soy creyente y creo en Dios y le agradezco a Dios que ella aproveche cada una de las oportunidades que tiene y que ha tenido para poder obtener esos logros. y estoy muy orgullosa de ella y la amo mucho por su trayectoria y aunque está joven, tiene mucho talento, muchas cualidades y habilidades y no ha dejado de seguir la continuidad que ha tenido desde pequeña, porque desde pequeña demostró que sí podía y podía lograr los dones que Dios le da.
So I'm very proud of my daughter. I believe in God, so I attribute it a lot to God and our faith for, helping her navigate through all of these, her whole journey. And, I'm very proud of her for using the resources she has available, specifically for law school, for undergrad, everything. And yeah.
When you think about this story, that's going to be, shared with all of our listeners, and then Charles and I will come up with other ways to get this literally blasted out to other populations. It literally is the poster child of how things should be. And when you look at this, what an inspiration, to say the least, to your father, what he is doing as well, and of course to what you're doing. What is his thoughts are of you choosing the law profession?
¿Qué piensas de que estoy eligiendo ley? O sea, ¿qué piensas? ¿Cómo te sientes? ¿O qué es lo que piensas? O sea, acerca de la profesión que estoy entrando en leyes.
Bueno, ella tiene que realizar sus metas, todos sus sueños y aspiraciones que tiene. Y en ningún momento he querido influenciar y menos exigirle que sea lo que yo quiera y antes que nada lo que Dios quiere para ella. Y yo no soy nadie para imponerle que ella siga tal o cual campo dentro de una profesión. Respeto su decisión, respeto sus gustos y la apoyo.
So I'm very proud to see her going into this industry. And I just want to support her in whatever interest she has. Even if it weren't law, I would still support her, because at the end of the day, I don't want to impose what I would want for myself or what I expect, but rather what she wants to go into and what she has a passion for. So I'm just here supporting her.
No, I think that's terrific. Charles, did you have a question?
No, I'm overwhelmed. And I want to just say to your dad, because let him know that my daughter's also going into law. Mm-hmm. And I think so highly of your daughter that I've already connected my daughter with your daughter. And I'm hoping she chooses my daughter's law school.
Sí, dice que quiere que sepas que, o sea, me admira mucho a mí, o sea, y él conectó su hija, te comenté que su hija también va a la escuela de ley, y conectó su hija conmigo, y él espera que elija la escuela de ley que va su hija.
Gracias. Yo quiero agradecer a todas las personas que de una u otra forma le han tendido la mano y la han apoyado en sus decisiones y que ella las ha estado aprovechando y las seguirá aprovechando, primero Dios, hasta que ella quiera y Dios le permita tener vida y salud.
He says thank you. I want to say a huge thank you to everyone that has lent a helping hand to her, supported her throughout this journey, because I know other people have helped and really helped her throughout her journey. So thank you.
Well, it all starts at home. And let your father know that we all know this, all of us sitting at this table, including our guest who's coming in from the Robert Frost Society. Our first teacher is our parents. Mm-hmm. It's our lifelong teacher. And they'll be with us long before the teachers that we've had are gone and all that aspect of it. So do me a favor, on behalf of Cloudcast Media and the Spotlight Show, just give a wholehearted thank you to your dad for being such a wonderful first teacher of you.
De parte de todo el equipo aquí en Cloudcast y todos los que estamos conectados te quieren dar una gracias por ser un maravilloso profesor, porque todo esto, todo mi ser es dado a la enseñanza tuya. Entonces, gracias.
Yo le agradezco principalmente a Dios y a ustedes que le dan la oportunidad de seguir apoyándola en sus aspiraciones y en sus metas, que considero que con la ayuda de ustedes llegará hasta donde ella quiera llegar, porque su límite es el cielo.
He says thank you, but mostly he really does want to extend a huge thank you to all of you, because thanks to your help, she can get where she wants to go, where she dreams of going. And, the sky's the limit.
The sky is the limit, absolutely. Well, it's our honor. What a wonderful interview. Charles, thank you so much for bringing this to our attention over here, and for making a return appearance and bringing your wonderful father on. And we're going to look forward to blasting this podcast out to the whole world to see, and even people, even on the space station Mir, who knows, in this aspect of it. So we're going to look forward to following your career as you become a Supreme Court justice down the road over here. We can say we knew you when.
Absolutely.
We're chatting with Ann Avilez, Social Innovation Specialist at Jacobs Institute of Innovation, and her father, who was just so instrumental in her pathway to what's going to end up in just a brilliant law school down the road. Eulogio Avilez, just honored to have him. I'm Drew Schlosberg, joined by my co-hosts, Kristen Fogel and Charles Parisi, as you've been listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, the nation's longest-running community podcast. We're now in our 18th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. We hope you enjoyed the show.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast Media.